Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. Today's episode is a pull list review for comics that I read in April 2022, and I read a lot. For some reason, I read 89 books, either issues or do we have any graphic novels on here? Yeah, I do. So yeah, 89. That's a lot. So what did I read? I read, here's a long list, so bear with me. The All-Nighter, the first 5 issues, History of the Marvel Universe #2, which again, I'm continuing my issue-by-issue read because of Al and Peter's examination of this on the Resurrections and Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast. So check those out. Batman, Superman, 19 through 21, along with the annual, the 2021 annual. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow #4, Infinite Frontier 5 and 6, Incredible Hulk, Future Imperfect, which is a 2-issue, I guess, mini. Angela Della Morte, issues 1 through 4. Iron Man, issues 4 through 15. So I went out on a bit of an Iron Man binge there for just a little while. Astro City, that was then special. Batman, Superman, World's Finest #1. Human Target #5 and 6, Superman, Son of Kal-El #9, Nightwing #90, Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes #2, Nice House on the Lake #5, Avengers, The Age of Khonshu, which contains the issues 31 through 38, The Marvels #9, Saga 57, Trees, 3 Fates 1 through 5, Everywhere Antennas, Summer Blonde, Thief of Thieves, Help Me, which is the second volume containing issues 8 through 13, Ice Cream Man, Strange Neapolitan, issues 5 through 8, Kang 1 through 5, Giant Days, volume 10, which contains issues 37 through 40, The Dead Hand, issues 1 through 6, Timeless, which I should have mentioned with Kang because that kind of came out of that, I guess, in a way. Legion of Superheroes, the latest version, volume 8, issues 7 through 12, which is just a reread to prepare for the next Legion Project podcast. And then finally, Richard Stark's Parker, The Score by Darwin Cook. So obviously I'm not going to talk about all these. That's too many. But for the ones that I had some things to say about, I will talk about those. So I'll just get right into it because there's a lot. So, The All-Nighter, volume 1, issues 1 through 5, like I said. So I wasn't going to read this. Vampires as superheroes. Been there, done that, and maybe even better. I will refer you to Astro City's Confessor storyline. But it was available for free on Prime Reading, and actually I enjoyed it more than I thought. While the superhero angle begins the story, that kickstarts a sequence of events that held my interest through the 5 issues, including other supernatural creatures donning quote-unquote costumes and becoming supervillains, which I just thought that was a great take. And the other supernatural beings, or the supernatural beings' societal structure after the vampires. So it's the world building that Zdarsky, Liu, and Aline and Bidikar do in this first volume that I really enjoyed. And speaking of the colorist Aline, I really like the use of purple throughout this series. So that was just a nice little touch. There is a surprising sort of reveal near the end that makes me interested in reading volume 2. So if it's available on Prime Reading, I will definitely read it. But if it's not, do I buy the physical copy? All right, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is next. So I know I've kind of poo-pooed this series at first, but it gets better and better and better. This issue is a bunch of vignettes as Supergirl and Ruthie continue their search for Krem and his brigands on various planets. I just have to say the Evely art and King's words are just incredibly affecting. They've been doing an outstanding job, especially these last couple issues. The scene with Supergirl in this issue demanding this large alien woman to hit her to get the alien to grieve. And then later when Supergirl has seen enough of the atrocities that she discovers across these various worlds, and one in particular, she flies into the nearby sun and super screams so as not to break anything on the now dead world. I think there was like crystalline structures or something. She didn't want to damage it, but she had to let that anguish and that anger and that pain out. I was just that whole idea of struggling with grief and anger. It really hit home for me, actually. So every time I read that damn scene with the alien mother, that just kind of broke me a little bit. So really, really good story. I'm reading it on the DCU app, but I bet you I will get the hardcover edition that I pre-ordered last month at the time of this recording, before all those issues hit that app. So anyway, just real quick, Infinite Frontier, the end of that series. So glad I didn't buy the issues. I felt this was a bit of a ho-hum event book. And it makes me a little anxious about continuing on with Justice League Incarnate when it actually finally hits the DCU app. And then Dark Crisis, which I am getting physical copies of. So, I guess we shall see, huh? So for the Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect 2-issue thing, I actually ordered the reprint, I think it's a Marvel Tales reprint that they put the 2 issues together. And, I think I started reading it on Marvel Unlimited first, and then saw that it was available to order that print version. So I ordered that and then finished reading it there. Anyway, but I wanted to read that in the first place because it was a George Perez drawn story that I have never read. I've heard of it over the years, but I never actually have seen it until, like I said, recently. And I started reading it. And while the Perez art was as good as usual, I kind of felt the overall story was not that, I don't know, just I was not connecting with it. There's some interesting scenes in it. There's some interesting, I guess, philosophical arguments between Maestro and our hero, the Hulk. But I just, it didn't connect with me. I just don't care for Hulk stories. Immortal Hulk, the series, Immortal Hulk notwithstanding. But I just never really cared for the Hulk, no matter how much I try. But there was one cool thing in there. You know, there was at least one. I think it was a 2-page spread. There might be another scene that's similar. Anyway, this is if you are familiar with this, this is future Rick Jones's study, I guess, trophy room, curiosity pad. I don't know what you'd call it, but there's all these little tidbits of things like Cap's shield and Iron Man's helmet and other things like that. Mjolnir was in there. But you know, I'm not as and there's a lot of things I could pick out very easily. But I was wondering if there were any items in that spread, in those scenes that I'm missing out on because I'm not as familiar with the Marvel universe as I am, say, the DC universe. So I was wondering if anybody out there had done like either on a blog or in a podcast, if they had done like a footnotes approach to those scenes in future Hulk, Future Imperfect. So if you're aware of anything like that, please let me know. Angela Della Morte, I kept an eye on this series since I think 2019 because of the issue 1 description and cover that I saw in previews. But this is a bit of a disappointment. What was described is not exactly what I read, as I recall. Plus, I don't know, maybe there's some translation aspect that got lost on this because the words and art didn't always seem to match up. Like kind of like a record skipping groove. So I was actually quite disappointed with this. I did like the monkey in the story, and there's some interesting ideas, but I don't know. That story just did not work for me. But what did work for me is next Iron Man, those issues 4 through 15. So like I said, I binged on that for a bit. I couldn't put this down. Once I started reading issue 4 and I didn't read all those issues in one night, but I read several over the course of 2 nights, maybe 3. But it was just every time I went to bed, I would open up my iPad, open up Marvel Unlimited, and go right to Iron Man and just continue reading until I got caught up. So the Robertson DeMarta art in issue 15 with them fighting at a power cosmic level, where they were literally larger than planets, was just amazing as a highlight of those many issues. And I wonder if we'll get any ramifications of that later. While it may not be Phoenix level destruction, it was pretty damn close. So, is Tony going to have to pay for this fight that he and Korvac had? So yeah, really interesting. So the creators are doing a really good job of balancing the drama with the humor throughout those issues. However, if I'm being honest, I'm actually really here more for Hellcat than Iron Man. I want more Hellcat. Speaking of things that I want more of, Astro City, that was then special. More Astro City and more of these teen hero characters that were featured in the special. So yeah, Astro City is back. This time, like I said, featuring a group of teenage sidekicks gathering for a road trip to reflect and recoup after the apparent deaths of the teen team, the Jayhawks. So Anderson and Busick do such an amazing job of conveying the humanity of these super characters in each and every issue of Astro City I've ever read, and this is no exception. Plus, because of my affinity for sidekick characters, this issue was extra special. So I really enjoyed this. At the end, we see Samaritan pondering a growing darkness. That seems to be a thing in at least a couple different series these days, which this darkness presumably will lead us into the next Astro City series. So can't wait for that. Also, what I can't wait for is more Batman Superman World's Finest, because number one, oh my God, so much goodness. I love every page, every homage. For example, Superman in his red kryptonite fever refers to what he sees as, I think he's holding Batman. He's got Batman by the throat or something. Anyway, he's referring to him as Luthor, a diseased maniac, which I believe is a quote from Superman the movie. Everything about this issue is just great. Superman and Batman as friends and partners. None of this Dark Knight animosity crap anymore. And we get a teenage Dick Grayson as Robin doing so much. He wasn't just there in the background to throw out a stupid pun as he used to do. He's actually accomplishing things and contributing to what's going on. They should have called this the Batman Superman Robin World's Finest. For example, he attacks Metallo, yelling at him to get away from my friend. He saves a man who had fallen out of a helicopter. He backs Batman's play when the Doom Patrol. Oh yeah, they show up too. It's just this is just a one. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Where was I? Doom Patrol. After the Doom Patrol arrived to help, Robin tells them that Batman has a plan. How do you know? Elastigirl asks. Robin replies, "He's Batman." I just thought that was cute. Anyway, the Mora Bonvillain, Bidikar, and Wade creators here on this have crafted a Silver Age-esque comic told with modern sensibilities. I really love this comic book, and I'm so glad. It's rare that I see something in previews or some sort of announcement from especially DC or Marvel. Other books I get more excited about these days, but to see a book like this and see the creative team, primarily I was interested because of Wade and Mora on it. But then to actually get the book and read it and be so happy and satisfied with the issue it's an amazing feeling. And I have, as of this recording, I have issue 2, and I just need to read it because I'm loving this so far. More, please. Okay, Human Target 5 through 6. If it's not already obvious to everybody, this series is definitely not in DC continuity, and I'm okay with that. Although I'm sure fans of Guy Gardner do not like what happened is it issue 6 or was it 5? I think it was issue 6. But I love the homage to the punch from Justice League number 5, when Batman one punches Guy Gardner unconscious. That it was just, while it was really kind of disturbing what Christopher Chance did to Guy in this, his own one punch, it was hysterical. Maybe that says some bad things about my sense of humor. Anyway, Smallwood handles King's propensity for time-shifting parts of the story, such as, especially in issue 5, very well, and I wasn't lost too much in the narrative. Obviously, I cannot wait for season 2 of that, the next 6 issues of this, because they took a break for some reason between issues 6 and 7, and that's okay, because whatever, that means I can pre-order them and not have to hunt them down like I had to do with the first 6 issues. Another book I was really looking forward to reading when I saw the solicitations for the specific issues in previews was this Avengers Age of Khonshu collection. This is volume 7. Like I said, I was excited to read it because it involved one of my favorite Marvel characters, Moon Knight. Which, this was well before the series, the TV series, which I haven't watched so far, but I will. But I have to say, I don't know, there was something about this Avengers, because I got the first, several issues of that series, and it just wasn't clicking with me. And this also, there's something off about it. I don't know if it's, because this is written by Jason Aaron, and I love his stuff. His Thor stuff was awesome. And other things of his I've read, I just really enjoy. And the art was, it's okay. The various artists that I've read so far, they're fine artists. I don't know, just there's something about this Avengers run that I'm just not all that excited about. There were some fun moments in here. Moon Knight's fights with the various Avengers. The idea of using moons to trap Thor to take him out of the fight altogether until near the end of the story. I enjoyed the mashups of Blade, the Sorcerer Supreme, and Iron Hulk. So, but those were just real quick one-page ideas that were just kind of thrown in there. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just, there's a lot of, flashiness. I want to say, what are who does the Transformer who produces or directs the Transformers movies, where it's just like a lot of flash over substance. And that's kind of, maybe that's what I'm reacting to in Avengers. There's a theatrical quality to, or no, not even that, just like a summer movie blockbuster feel to the Avengers that it just, but there's not, there's just not much to it. And on top of that, I'm having a hard time with them recasting, or I guess retconning. I'm not sure. This is my Marvel reading ignorance here, but retconning Mephisto as this horrific manifestation of evil based on what I've seen Mephisto do before in other books over the years. He's more of like this annoying supernatural creature that doesn't really have much of an impact, and yet they're recasting him as this really dark, powerful entity. And I don't know. That discrepancy of the character for me just kind of takes me out of the story. But your mileage may vary. Maybe I'm just not getting something about this. So anyway, it's too bad. Okay, next up is this really interesting book, Everywhere Antennas by Julie Delport. This, I, I went on I guess an indie graphic novel binge a while back. I bought a bunch of stuff from in stock trades, and this was one of them. Just based on the description of it, I was very curious, and it looked the art looked really expressive and interesting. So I got it, and so Delport here has constructed this. It's basically an illustrated diary about this character, ostensibly about this woman struggling with electronic sensitivity, and that was the hook that kind of like, ooh, what's that going to be like? But it's really about isolation and depression and wanting more out of life, and artists struggle, and not just an artist, but it kind of hit home for me too, because I've been feeling a little bit that way myself, as I'm sure many of you have over these last 2 years. However, what makes this particular story engaging and different for me was the method that the artist used to illustrate it, which was colored pencils. You don't see that very often in comic books, for sure. And not only colored pencils for the art, but she she wrote out by hand the captions, not the dialogue. Was there dialogue in there? Actual dialogue balloons? I don't remember now. Anyway, the diary aspect was written out in handwriting, which, nice touch, considering that it's a diary. But can you imagine? I don't know if you've ever used color pencils before to do anything more than just color in just a little bit of something, but to actually use those to write out stuff and to create those. I don't know. Just I am impressed with the art, with the work. And if you read this, this is something I had not noticed the first time I read it, and only by thumbing through it to help me articulate my notes about this book, I noticed the tape. So Delport took these things that she had drawn, cut them out from the sheet of paper that she drew them on, and then taped them in onto another, I presume another sheet of paper or something, along with the handwritten captions, to put together the story. And for some reason, I'm fixated on this idea of the tape, because like I said, I totally missed it the first time I read it. So yeah, it was just interesting to see. I mean, it's a work of art that's about art. So I just really enjoyed that. All right. Something else I really enjoyed is Adrienne Tomine's Summer Blonde. This is a collection of 3 short stories that Tomine did. Anyway, I'm going to say this, and I don't know if anybody else has made this comparison, but Adrienne Tomine to me is the Raymond Carver of graphic fiction. His characters are so wonderfully constructed and full of faults and humanity that it's heartbreaking at times. Also, the endings in this collection remind me a lot of Carver's, in that they're endings, but not really. You may not find them as satisfying. Anyway, they're very impactful, but they're not. Carver, just like Tomine, does not wrap things up in a bow. It's not always clear that this is the ending to a story, but it works so well. If you've not read Raymond Carver, I highly encourage you to do so. Anyway, and also Adrienne Tomine's work. I just ordered another collection of his, because I have between Summer Blonde and Shortcomings, I think it was. This guy just tells incredible stories. However, back to Summer Blonde, there are so many character types in these 3 stories that are familiar to us, whether we know this person or perhaps maybe are that person. And sometimes it's a little uncomfortable to read this stuff. But the stories have a universal quality to them. So, for example, let's see here. In Alter Ego, this is one of the stories, which, curiously enough, that was the name of my graduate project, collection of superhero short stories. Anyway, a washed-up writer in pursuit of new material begins dating a girl who is still in high school. Right? That doesn't sound great, does it? But it's an interesting story. In the title story, we meet a Nebbish who honestly wants only to help the woman he is unwittingly stalking. Next comes a lonely woman who makes hostile prank phone calls in the perverse hope of connecting with someone, anyone, at the other end of the line. And then finally, a class dweeb and his sexual initiation at the hands of a popular girl who recently crapped her pants at a party. So, come on, that's pretty different from any Batman Superman story, right? Anyway, I highly encourage you to check out Tomein's work, no matter what it is. Okay, when I read the second volume of Ice Cream Man, and I read, was it issue 6? Yes, I read issue 6. I'm like, I put this on Twitter. I can't wait to talk about this book on the show. So, and this is actually, my notes on this is actually the longest paragraph that I wrote for anything. So let's see here. I read Ice Cream Man Volume 1 a long time ago. I don't even remember if I talked about it on the show or not. Anyway, I've been meaning to get back to it because I have, I don't know, up to Volume 8? Something like that? I need to read these books. So, like I said, I've been meaning to get back to this series for a while, and, it's like I read this thing, I'm like, why did it take me so long? I will preface this, though, by saying I don't care for, quote-unquote horror comics generally, but there's a sophistication to these short stories, and that, that's what these are. There is some connective tissue, so we see a couple characters that throughout many of these issues of Ice Cream Man, so that we have some continuity, but really it's about these disparate and various other characters that we never, well, at least so far, we don't see again. I really like that. Even when it veers into 80s horror movie monster territory, in some cases, the characters fill recognizable tropes at times, but they're not one-dimensional caricatures. And like I said, my favorite was issue 6, Strange Neapolitan, which was told in 3 strips across the pages, showing us 3 different stories of a man's life that diverge after the first couple pages, I think, as he eats a triple scoop ice cream cone that he got from the Ice Cream Man at the beginning. And each of these stories are shown, and each of these strips are shown with a color overlay of pink for strawberry, yellow for vanilla, and brown for chocolate. So kudos to colorist artist O'Halloran for that coloring job. The strawberry story shows the guy meeting a red-haired woman. They fall in love, have a baby, and experience a tragedy. Vanilla is him finding an injured puppy, nursing it back to health, and when he discovers it was a lost dog, he moves into the woods with the dog and they grow old together. The chocolate story is him being infected with something awful, which he's told at one point in the story. And just the way that I don't know, it's really bizarre the way that comes about. Anyway, you have to read it to understand. I don't want to spoil it or anything. Anyway, this one is probably the more esoteric of the 3. Regardless, the whole thing, the issue, the issue 6 was inventive and playful, and just like I thought when I read the first volume, I'm not going to wait to read the next volume of this because it's just so good. The stories in Ice Cream Man are just incredible. All right, next up is The Dead Hand. This was a 6-issue miniseries that was collected. This is a story that plays with 1980s nuclear Holocaust fears wrapped in spy movie tropes with just a dash of superhero costuming thrown in there for some reason. I don't know why. It was not needed, but it was fun to see. But it's a really interesting story about the sacrifices people make for the greater good, at least from their point of view. I also liked how in this story, the younger person's perspective was key to solving the principal threat of the story. It seems like a metaphor for our times, actually. Let's step aside, old people, and stop trying to hold on to power for as long as possible, so that the younger folks can step in and save us. God, I hope so. Anyway, back to the book. I kept noticing how the colors in this book contributed to the overall drama of the scenes. And then I realized it was Jordi Belair doing the colors. I'm like, oh, of course. Anyway, but whoever decided, okay, minor nitpick, whoever at Image Comics decided to print the front matter text as black and really small, black on a deep red background should be taken to task, because I can't read it. I literally can't read it. I have to get out a magnifying glass to read the damn text. Not like, I don't need to. I was curious, because I always look at that kind of stuff. This is reprinted material from blah 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 blah. I just do that as a matter of course when I'm looking at trade collections. Anyway, probably made more out of that than I needed to. But anyway, it was a good book. It was unexpected. I bought it really because of the cover and the fact that Kyle Higgins wrote it. I like the art. Who's the artist on this? Stephen Mooney. Like I said, with Jordi Belair, Clayton Coles. It was just really cool looking, and the idea of it. But what I got was unexpectedly great. And so if you like the idea of an 80s spy story with some incredible cliffhanger endings for a couple issues, The Dead Hand is what you should read. Also something you should read, and I will end with this. You should read all of Darwin Cook's Parker books. I just read, so I've read 3 of these now. The Hunter, The Outfit, and The Score, which is the one I read in April. So if you're only familiar with Darwin Cook's DC work on New Frontier or Selena's Big Score, I know he did some Marvel work as well that I'm not familiar with. You really need to seek out his Parker adaptations, like I said. It's the same great Darwin Cook art you know and love, I assume, because who doesn't love Darwin Cook's art? But the subject matter and the tone and the themes are really different from the DC Marvel stuff you may have read. And then production-wise, this particular story, and I don't remember if the other 2 that I have were done this way. I'm going to guess they were. The Score is told only in, it's a black and white book, but it has yellow is the only color in it. So it's a 2-color book. And as I was first reading, I was trying to figure out why yellow? What is the significance of yellow? And then once I got to what the score of the story is, which is stealing $250,000 from a copper mining town. So copper, yellow, I guess that kind of works. So, but the story focuses on the eponymous hard-edged and stoic man Parker as he assembles and leads a team to do that job. So basically, think Ocean's 11 style, only maybe not as charming and good-looking, but still such a great story. If you like crime comics and Cook, you have to read the Parker books, and so. It's too bad. I assume there's more Parker stories out there, but I think we only got 3 or 4 of these Cook adaptations, which is just unfortunate. But it does make me want to seek out more of Darwin Cook's work. I have some. In fact, I've been reading the hardcover deluxe edition of Solo from DC Comics. And I just, at the time of this recording, last night, I read the Darwin Cook issue that's in that collection. And that and the score here, Darwin Cook was just a genius. And his work needs to be appreciated more. Okay, I will end with that. Thanks for sticking around for all those books. Obviously, there's quite a few of these books that I mentioned at the top of the show that I did not talk about. I enjoyed them for the most part, but I didn't really have much to say about them. However, challenge you, my fine listeners, if there's something that I've mentioned on any of these pull list review episodes where you're like, hey, I really wanted you to talk about this book that you mentioned but didn't talk about, please let me know, and I will gladly come back to this. Something to come back to. I mentioned, I think last time, the Immortal Hulk, the final issue where there was, I said something about there may have been a production or I don't know, something to do with the pages and the order of the pages in the collection. And I asked online if anybody had the actual issue and how that was presented. And Damien, Sleepy Reader 666, replied that the reveal of, quote unquote, God in the story came earlier than what I was describing. I think that's how I Damien, if you're listening, if I misinterpreted what you said, please let me know. Regardless, I really appreciated that comment about that episode and about that particular book. And so, if you got some stuff to ask me, to tell me, either way, always appreciate the feedback, and you can send that my way in various ways. You can send email at longboxreview@gmail.com. I have a voicemail/text message number, which is 208-953-1841. Thanks to Peter Rios for pointing that out on the Daily Rios, because he was thinking about creating a Google Voice number for people to send text messages. And I never thought about that. I mean, I know I can do it. I just never thought about mentioning it here on the show or on the blog. So you can do that. You can send me a voicemail if you want, but you can also just text me, and I can read your messages there. But you can also do that on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Longbox Review. And as always, this episode and comments are welcome at the website longboxreview.com. So with that really long ending, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.